Hello and welcome to the People's Lawyer public channel, or whichever channel you're finding me on. Today we're looking at, we're in part 4B, looking at what to do when you are traveling and expected to quarantine. We're looking in particular at traveling abroad from the UK and coming back and being asked or being expected to self-isolate, self-confine in a hotel of their choice, and asked, as if that wasn't enough, to pay the expenses, which quite frankly is just ridiculous. But before you travel, I would suggest asking yourself two questions. One is fairly obvious and one is certainly not obvious at all. The first question is, why am I traveling? Is it really that important in the current climate to travel? If it is, then travel, but then you'll need to take some precautions if you really don't want to be confined. The next question is, in what status am I traveling? Am I traveling as a man or a woman, or am I traveling as a passenger of an airline? And there's a huge difference. You may need to watch some of my other videos that will explain the difference between doing anything as a man or woman or doing something as a legal person. The passenger, whose full legal name is put on the airline ticket and who's traveling on a passport, will be traveling normally on their full legal name, which is Crown copyright and owned by the government, which complicates things. I'm going to try and keep things as simple as possible because there's so many potential complexities in this scenario. It's amazing. You've decided that you're going to travel. Then the next thing I would do is make sure that you have reserved all your rights. Now, ideally, you've reserved your rights actually on the passport itself by putting in blue ink all inalienable rights reserved, or all common law rights reserved, or all rights reserved in blue ink at 45-degree angle across your signature. That may involve submitting your old passport and getting a new passport. If you haven't done that, then remember that any paperwork won't apply for you if you haven't if you haven't signed it. So if there's any paperwork that appears to insist that you have to self-quarantine, then don't sign it. That's the next best thing you can do, is just refuse to sign it. You don't sign it, or you can sign it conditionally, and we'll come to that in a minute. The next thing you can do, again, this is before you travel, is contact the Home Office and send them a Freedom of Information request for evidence of authority to enforce these confinements. You'll find that if you insist, they don't have any actual authority to do this. It's all under the COVID legislation, which has been undone. No prosecutions have been successfully brought under the COVID legislation. So it's all a little bit of a corporate ruse, a corporate strategy to enforce compliance with their rules. Ask also in your Freedom of Information for a risk assessment that proves that there is a public health, a legitimate public health threat, I should say, which again, you'll find that there isn't. And also ask whether these measures are not a breach of your fundamental human rights, including the right to travel, freedom of movement, and also the implications for Human Rights Act. And there it may even be worth your while having a look at some of my other videos and putting in a data subject access request, because they'll be using your data for a purpose which is not lawful as far as you're concerned. And it certainly doesn't have your explicit consent. A backup strategy for the Home Office is to offer your compliance subject to conditions, which I hinted at before. Basically, you send them an invoice, happy to comply with your requirement, your legal requirement to force me into self-isolation, but it is going to cost me, it will cost me the hotel bills, and it will cost me my freedom. And for that, I'm going to charge £1,000 a day, £2,000 a day, or whatever. Bearing in mind that if this was a police cell, now a hotel would be more comfortable, obviously, false imprisonment is charged at £3,000 an hour, which I've mentioned in another video. If you do fly, if you haven't taken any of these precautions, because your flight was urgent, you had family or business needs, then, and you're still deciding to stick by your freedoms, your common law freedoms, and there are some heavy-handed belligerent officers who escort you to a room, then just say that you're serving them personal liability notice because they're acting beyond their authority. You've reserved your rights, you've traveled, and the personal authority notice should look something like this or sound something like this. So you'll need the names and the numbers of the officers in question. And you'll say, I hereby serve you notice, hand them a card or show them something on a phone, but record it if it's oral. I hereby serve you notice that you are operating outside of your public oath of office. So this is an immigration official who presumably is under oath, and that you are therefore not protected by public indemnity insurance against any harm caused to me by your unlawful conduct. I therefore notify you that I hold you personally liable and privately accountable for any physical or psychological harm or financial loss. Well, financial loss would be the cost of the hotel. Psychological harm would be doing a form of time against your will, caused to me as a result of your actions today. I also notify you that I shall prosecute such unlawful conduct in a county court or, if necessary, in a duly convened court for common law. Do you understand? So if you get them to at least understand, then you're reversing the process of joinder. You're getting them to stand under your authority, and that you will then claim against them once your solitary is carried out and served. Remember that when you serve someone notice, you are in effect creating your law. You're putting they have their rules. You're not consenting to them, but they're not taking your non-consent seriously. So you're now trumping their lack of compliance with your non-consent with your notice of law, basically. You're a personal liability and private accountability notice, which creates the law. Because remember, if I don't say it every time, it's because I forget to, but we are the law. If we act in honor, peacefully and self-lovingly, without threat, without undue stress, and without causing any breach of the peace, we remain in effect above the law. We can create law, but we need to serve notice of what our law is. And in this case, we're saying, if you unlawfully confine me or make it impossible for me to do anything but be confined, then I will claim against you in due process. That will enable you to do just that, and it may put them off. There are no guarantees in all these situations. It's all we hear that people, certainly famous people, I won't mention any names, famous people are able to sidestep quarantine using their common law rights, standing on their common law rights. Well, you have to know your common law rights, and you have to know how to assert them. I wish you all the best with this. I personally don't have any travel plans until further notice, but that's just me. But I do have plans to adjust the signatures on my passport and driving license. And hopefully that will, and I do hear on the grapevine that is enough. It puts them on notice that you are standing in your rights as a man and a woman, and that they will get into trouble for trespassing upon those rights. And that's a word I haven't used up to now in this clip. So really, it's for that personal liability, private accountability notice is a form of trespass to person notice. So hope that's been helpful. All the best in your travel plans. We can do this. We can defeat the tyranny. There is good news coming out of particularly the United States and other places. Council of Europe have now said that quarantine is unlawful, and that an immunity passport is not on the cards. They do not recommend it to the European Union. So we do have high-level backing here. So it's all looking a lot rosier than it did a few months back. So please stay tuned for more developments, for more information, and you'll find worthwhile links on the public channel of YouTube. I nearly said Facebook. I've got a lifetime ban from that. YouTube, BitChute, Telegram, the People's Lawyer public channel, Telegram, and the website, www.thepeopleslawyeruk.com. We look forward to bringing you more installments soon. Thank you very much. Bye for now.